Hey, Ignited. Happy Wednesday night. Don't forget that as soon as I'm done here with my message, we have our Zoom meeting and we've got games and everything like we did last week. Last week's winner was Trip. Let's see who wins this week. I have an Amazon gift card for whoever wins. So don't forget, 7 o'clock. Set your alarms, whatever you got to do. Show up for our Zoom meeting. Well, today we're going to talk about faith in Jesus. That's the title of my message tonight. And we're going to talk about listening to God through faith. Faith is a key part of what it means to follow Jesus, guys. So what exactly is faith? Hebrews 11, 1 through 2 says, faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see. Through their faith, the people in days of old earned a good reputation. Okay? Basically, faith is when you trust in something you cannot see yet. Okay? For example, you have faith in your parents at Christmas time that they love you, and if you ask for something specific, you're probably going to get it. Or you might say, if you're sick, you go to the doctors because you have faith that the doctor can help you get better. Are you certain you're going to get the gift? No. Are you certain you're going to get better? No. But you have faith that you're going to get that gift and that you're going to get better. You see, faith is trusting in something you cannot see. Now, here's the thing. Faith is not blind, guys. Faith is not just wildly hoping. For example, you can hope to be a professional baseball player. But if you don't play baseball and you're not good at baseball, then it doesn't matter how much faith you have in it, you're not going to be a professional baseball player. So here's the key to all this faith thing. Faith is based on the idea of trust, right? You know you can trust your parents and you know you can trust the doctors. That's why you have faith in the good outcomes, because you trust them. But if you have any trust, or if you don't have any trust in your baseball skills, then you probably shouldn't be having this huge amount of faith that you're going to be a professional baseball player, right? The point is that faith is trusting in things you cannot see. Our faith is in God and our faith is in Jesus. See, when you become a Christian, you place your faith in God. As followers of Jesus, we have come to the place in our lives when we see that we are sinners and we realize we need a Savior. We realize that we can't save ourselves and that we need somebody to save us. So in that sense, every Christian has had the faith in the saving power of Jesus' death, right? That took faith, that first step. But here's the thing, guys. Once we place our faith in Jesus, we get to choose. I love this, right? Remember, all free choice. We get to choose whether we are going to live out that faith every single day. The idea of faith is so important right now. Now, we don't know what the future can hold, right? We can't see. It's all uncertain. Some of you may have more uncertainty in your lives right now than others. Maybe some of you guys, your families are having financial difficulties and there's an uncertainty about what's going to happen in the future. Maybe some of you have family members or friends who have COVID and you're maybe worried, like it's uncertain what's going to happen, right? And it's easy to be drawn away by the promises of things like popularity and pleasure and power, right? We naturally want those things, and it's easy for us to put our faith in them, that those things are going to save us. Those things are going to give us meaning. Being popular or cool is something that we can put our faith in, or being athletic or attractive, or being smart or artistic. These are all things that we have put our faith in before in the past, right? And we can begin to trust in those parts of who we are to bring our life meaning. But guess what, guys? Right now, that's been stripped away. We're quarantined at home. We're not at school. We are not in all of our normal places. It's hard to hold on to these things when they just don't exist right now. And And the reality is that apart from God, guys, we're empty. No matter how much success we achieve in those other things, without God, we are empty. And as Christians, we are called to listen and hear the shepherd's voice. And I want to talk about that a little bit more. While there are all sorts of things promising to save us and to give us meaning, right? Only Jesus can do that. I'm going to read to you guys John 10:27. It says, "My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me." Wow. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. Here's the thing, guys. Okay, I got to tell you guys a little bit about sheep. Sheep are kind of dumb. They're not very smart, right? I know, so being called a sheep isn't necessarily a compliment, right? But sheep literally have been known to be so dumb that they will accidentally walk off cliffs. And they don't really pay attention or see things very clearly because they're all like usually in a bunch. They don't really know what to do, right? They're not these ferocious top of the food chain kind of animals. They don't have cunning and strength, right? How do they survive? How does a sheep survive? By listening to the voice of their shepherd. Period. That's how they survive. That's how they make it, right? They would learn to recognize the voice of their shepherd, so if some other person came around them, they wouldn't listen to that other person. Jesus is saying that we are like sheep, not to say that we're dumb or stupid, but that we need him. We need a shepherd. We need somebody to guide and protect us. We need to learn to recognize the voice of God. But there are all sorts of voices in this world competing for your faith. And we need to learn to hear the voice of God in our lives. Popularity, power, athleticism, attractiveness, intelligence, artistry. All these voices are speaking to lead you away from Christ. Now, none of these things are bad or wrong, right? But the foremost important thing that you need to do is to listen to Jesus. Listen to your shepherd first. If we begin to listen to one of these other voices above Jesus, then we're going to get in trouble. We're going to be leaning on something that we shouldn't be trusting in, right? There are a lot of ways to hear God's voices, guys. We could hear his voice in his word. Well, we've talked about the Bible is full of God talking to you. That's what he's saying. He's actually speaking to you. We can hear it in prayer. We can hear it through other people. And we can hear it through the different passions that we have. And once we hear God's voice and we place faith in him, and we can hear what he says, great things start to happen in our lives. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys a story. Maybe you guys have heard this story, but I love this story when it comes to faith, because this man's faith was so strong, so incredibly strong, and his faith paid off hugely, right? And I'm talking about Joseph, guys. You know, in the Old Testament, there was a man, at the time he was a boy, named Joseph, and he grew up in a family with 11 brothers. That's nuts. That's crazy. I can't imagine being that mom. Well, there was actually 2 moms, but that's okay. That's a lot of boys. And here's the thing. He was the second youngest, okay? So that means he had, what is that? He had 9 older than him and 1 younger than him, okay? He was his father's favorite son. And he was considered so special, right, that his dad made him the special colorful coat, you know, the coat of many colors. Maybe you guys are like already remembering this, right? It's sort of like if your parents were to go to the store and buy you all the cool name brand stuff like Urban Outfitters and Nike and, you know, all of the cool name brand expensive stuff that you might find in the mall. And then the other kids got stuff from the thrift store, from the Goodwill, right? It'd be like that, right? Could you imagine the tension that would happen in the house? Okay, I know that would have happened when I was little, my sister would have had a conniption fit. But instead, we both got things from the thrift store and stuff. But here he is. He's the favorite son. And then to make things worse, right, he goes and he has these crazy dreams where he's going to rule over his brothers and his family, and he tells them. And so his brothers, right, they plot to kill him. I mean, it goes from 0 to crazy like that, right? They want to kill him. They're done with this guy. Well, they end up not killing him. One brother's a little smarter than that, but they end up selling him to slavery. And I guess that's nicer. I don't know. I really don't know. One or the other, neither one sounds great, right? And he ends up working in a foreign land as a servant for this rich guy. And you guys can find some of that in Genesis 39. Okay, you guys can see some of this story. Instead of reading it, though, I just want to tell it to you. So Joseph, he remains faithful, right, to God. And he stays with God. Even in Potiphar's house, right? Remember, Potiphar's wife comes after him, and she wants him to come in bed with her, and he's like, oh, heck no, I don't do that. That's like against my God, and you're married. And well, she gets mad, so she lies and tells her husband that Joseph tried to rape her. And I mean, it was just crazy, right? And so he gets thrown into jail, but he still remains faithful. And God still stays with him, okay? So here you're starting to see this level rise, okay? Brothers hate you. Faith, God's still with me. Get put in a really cool house. All right, cool. So I'm not I'm not being treated like a slave. But now his wife lies and you get put in jail, and his faith still stays. God's still with me, right? God begins blessing Joseph. He watches out for him, even in prison. He ends up in prison. Let's see. I want to read all of this because I want to save us some time. So you guys can go back to Genesis 39, and you can read it in there. So now he's in here, and even in prison, Joseph maintains his faith, and God continues to be with him. Right? He knows the voice of his shepherd. He knows who God is, and he is listening. And he knows he can trust that God is working out the best, even though he can't see it, guys. What Joseph doesn't know is that from prison, God is going to raise him to a place of high authority in the empire that he is living in, and he will eventually save his entire family. You guys, faith is when we choose to trust God and know that he's in control and that he knows what's best, even though we can't see it. Joseph could have easily given up on God in so many points in his life. When his brother sold him into slavery, he could have given up. When he was falsely accused, he could have given up. When he was rotting in prison for years, he could have given up. But he didn't. He kept his faith in God, even when it didn't make sense. Sound familiar? Maybe you've had a time in your life when having faith in God doesn't make sense. But see, you guys, in Joseph's story, God was with him every step of the way. And here's another thing, guys. Do you know difficulties in our life can deepen our faith in Jesus? It can actually help us to see who Jesus truly is. When things get difficult in life, that's when all the other voices in life will start to appear smart. But we need to hold on to our faith. We need to trust that God is working out things for our good. I want to tell you guys a story, and I think I've told you guys it before many times because it is one of my big faith in Jesus moments in my life. It's my Joseph moment, you might say. And that was, I couldn't understand when God called me into ministry. I couldn't understand why time and time again the door was closed and the answer was no when I would try to move forward in doing ministry. And to the point where, I mean, I cried and I got angry with God. I don't understand. I said yes. You told me you wanted me to do ministry, and I said yes, and then you just said no. And I would get upset with him, right? And things would look good on the outside. It would look good to just quit and walk away. It would have been easier to just say, you know what, I'm just going to go get a job somewhere else. I'm just going to go follow something else. This isn't working out. It's not what I thought it was. Maybe I heard things wrong. Maybe I'm not good enough. And I started to hear all these things. And then my faith kicked in. I'm like, but I trust God. I trust that He knows more than I know. So I sat back and I waited. And it all turned out really great, right? I ended up getting to be the children's pastor and now the Ignited pastor. And all that was because He knew what He was doing. He knew what He was working out in my life. He was working out that I needed to do things better. I needed to get better. I needed to learn more. Right? In His timing, it all worked out for the good. And that's what He's doing. In fact, Romans 8:28 says, and we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose for them. This is a powerful promise, guys. And you know what? God does not keep His promises. He will always, if He says it in His word, it's going to happen, right? He's God. He can't lie. He can't not keep His promises. And Joseph discovered through all these difficulties that it deepened his faith. And I'm the same way, guys. Because he answered that, I can look back on my life and I can say, okay, well, you did it before, so you'll do it again, right? So now it's easier for me to trust Him because I've seen it come through. I've seen it happen. He's with you always, and He's never going to leave you. And we need to hold on to our faith during storms in our lives. Those are the crucial times where He's saying, I'm working out to the good. Watch me. When you hear His voice, it doesn't matter what else is going on around you. Listen to Him and do what He's saying. Trust Him because He loves you and He knows everything that ever was in your life, ever is in your life, and ever will be in your life. He sees your entire life laid out. So who's the smarter one here to trust in what's happening in your life? All you have to do, guys, is trust and obey Him. That's it. It really is that simple. I know sometimes when you're in the middle of it, it's not, but just keep reminding yourself, I just need to trust Him. No matter how hard this looks right now, if I trust Him, I know He's working things out for the best for me because He loves me. That's what He does. So that's what faith in Jesus looks like tonight, guys. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you're walking through anything, I want to remind you guys, we are here, right? Most of you guys have many of the leaders' cell phone numbers. You've got emails. You just find a way, Facebook, message, whatever. You find a way to contact us if you need to talk. We are here. Even though we're not physically here, we are here and we love you guys. Don't forget that. So have a great night and I look forward to our Zoom meeting.